This message comes from Carvana. With Carvana Value Tracker, you can track your car's value anytime, anywhere. Carvana will even let you know when your car's value changes with updated emails. However you value your car, know its worth with Carvana Value Tracker.
Hello, hello. I'm Brittany Luce, and you're listening to It's Been a Minute from NPR, a show about what's going on in culture and why it doesn't happen by accident. A warning, this segment includes references to drugs and sex. I'd like to introduce you to one of the most dynamic women in show business. One of the most decorated and beloved drag performers working today, Chappell Roan's favorite queen, the one, the only, Miss Sasha Colby. Welcome to It's Been a Minute.
It has been a minute. Thank you so much for having me.
Our pleasure. We're so happy to have you. She's funny.
All right, bottoms, let's take it from the top, all right?
She's talented.
Crack the code, now y'all know Sasha Colby run the show.
And she's been building a legendary career in drag for over 20 years.
I am your favorite drag queen's favorite drag queen.
And she's had one heck of a year. She took her strip tour across America and the UK and released a documentary series that chronicled the tour. Our girl has been busy, so I felt lucky that she took a pause to talk with me about her life lessons from decades in drag's rhinestone trenches. Okay, I gotta ask you, what brought you to drag? Like, was there a moment that made you go, yes, this is for me?
It wasn't until I went to my first dance class in high school that I saw, like, gay people. I was really closeted because being from a religious family, I didn't feel comfortable. But like my friends that I met that are my lifelong friends, they were like, girl, like they could see it already. My best friend to this day, Preston, he actually took me to my first drag show after dance. And I was like 17 going to an 18 and over bar.
Oh, that's excitement. Did it blow your mind?
I still am chasing that drag show.
Wow.
It was one of the legends in Hawaii. Her name's Aiko. Mm-hmm. And she had turned 40 that year. Mm-hmm. And she had this huge show. And like anyone that was a performer in Hawaii was on that show. It was all drag queens, drag performers, but there were so many trans girls that were performing. And that's when like it all connected in my head. Like, oh, that little kid who feels like a girl can also be this dancer that is like wanting to perform and let this out. Like, honestly, I'm the youngest of 7 and I'm a Leo, so I love attention. So whatever got me like in center was going to be like my thing. And like a drag queen is always, you know, the center.
Center of attention.
But yeah, that was my homecoming to drag.
I want to take it back to your Miss Continental days. Okay. So for those who don't know, Miss Continental is one of the most prestigious pageants in the drag pageant system. Like, these performances are so impressive. The scale of them is huge. I mean, even going back to like the one that won you the crown back in 2012.
On my command, relinquish control. I am the dominator. You are the servant.
There's backup dancers, costume changes. There are like multiple movements.
Well, let me tell you something, honey. If you want drama, you came to the right place because I'll give it to you.
It felt on par to me with something that you would see a singer doing on a world tour. And the winners of the Miss Continental pageant often go on to represent queer community in other spaces, like grand marshalling for pride parades, doing public-facing trans advocacy, or wide-reaching HIV campaigns. You cut your teeth on those pageants for 7 years. You placed 5th on your first try in 2005.
I was 21.
Oh, a baby.
Because you have to be 21 in order to like compete.
So you went as soon as you were able.
As soon as I could compete, yeah. And between like my first drag show and Continental when I did it.
How much time?
I was 17, saw my first drag show, started doing drag, immediately needed to transition, was shown pageants as soon as like I met my drag mother. Cassandra's like the blueprint for me as like a mother and as like a trans woman. All we had as representation for what I could remember, we were just relegated to being like the dead prostitute in like SVU or, you know, like, and it wasn't until like I saw like, whoa, like a fully realized like trans woman. I was like, oh my gosh, sign me up. Like, give it to me. But yeah, then we started watching every pageant from like 1984.
So you got like, I mean, a real training. And eventually you won the title in 2012, obviously, as you mentioned. What did you learn from what my producer Corey Antonio calls the rhinestone trenches? Like, I know you have to chuckle.
That's so good. That's so good. Corey, I might use that for my tell-all. That might be the title of my book. Oh my God, that's so good.
Trenches. It's kind of perfect. It's perfect.
Wow.
But were there things that you knew would make the judges like go wild, or I don't know? It seems like a lot of not just winning that pageant, but placing in that pageant or competing in that pageant. It's a real boot camp that whips you into shape. Talk to me about that.
Yeah. When I won, by that time, I did 3 times prior. After that second time, I didn't get the crown or top 5, but I did get offered a job from Jim Flint, who is the owner of Miss Continental, who also owns the Baton Show Lounge in Chicago, Illinois. So he actually offered me a showgirl position. It was like drag college.
Oh, drag college.
I was with former Miss Continentals on cast, like Chili Pepper, the first one ever.
Miss Continental 1980, Chili Pepper.
Ginger Grant, Victoria LePage, Mimi Marks.
Contestant number 15, Mimi Marks.
Monica Monroe, Maya Douglas, like any of y'all drag aficionados that are listening, like just know, like you know these names. Those are like the blueprints of what trans excellence, trans drag is. All of them are former Miss Continentals. So 3 shows a night, 5 nights a week.
3 shows a night?
8:30, 10:30, and 12:30.
Wow.
So I learned how to get ready really fast. I learned how to change my makeup really fast. And that was just every day working as a showgirl, which helped me be a better competitor. Because like it is so fast doing Continental. Like you get announced top 5, you run off stage, there's maybe 2 performers, and you have to be in complete like swimsuit. So sometimes, you know, we've like figured out, oh, maybe have your hair up in a ponytail or in a bun, and then you could drop the ponytail.
Right.
Time is of the essence. And if like you're late, you're dock points. So like already you gotta like be on it.
But you were like steeped in that whole universe.
Yeah.
You were just getting a direct
channel
education from people who had mastered those skills.
Yeah. And they weren't even telling me anything. I was just observing.
I want to talk about Drag Race because I mean, you joined Drag Race 10 years after you won Miss Continental. Yeah. And you were known on the show for marrying like the precision and the polish of old school drag performance with also the kind of performance that plays well on TV where you got all these close-ups and smaller gestures and things like that the audience at home needs to see. Pageantry is meant to be done to the back of the house.
Yeah, across the street, baby. I'm paying for across the street of the pageant.
I wonder, are there other ways that you felt that you had to change your performance or even yourself to work for television? Because like you said, in the drag space, you're like, I can be myself. But like, did you feel that when you went on the show?
It's so funny because I can spot a camera, a blunt, and a broken man in the dark. So I'm going to be just fine.
So you knew exactly where and how to play
I knew what camera was on me. I could feel which lens. I knew which guy was right behind it. I also knew where to look at Ru, knowing that I was going to do something that might get her reaction because she's always got a camera on her.
Right.
So it's also like my way I perform. Like take it down and like break it down to just me doing a brunch, you know, before Drag Race. Like knowing your stage and like, oh, I could jump on that chair. I could do that to that person. And like, we could get that. And like, I'll be over here.
So it's like your mind was already primed to be able to think at this level.
Yeah.
Coming up, Sasha reflects on drag being thrust into the mainstream and into American politics. We'll be right back.
This message comes from REI Co-op. You can't make more time. But when you opt outside, you can make the most of it. So make time for those early morning runs, last-minute ski trips, and timeless views. From small victories, big fails, and everything in between. And when you're ready, REI has the gear, clothing, classes, and advice to help you make the most of your time out there. Visit your local REI co-op or rei.com/opt-outside.
If you enjoy the It's Been a Minute podcast, you should try out NPR Plus. With NPR Plus, you'll get to listen to our show sponsor-free. And you can access bonus episodes and other perks across more than 20 of NPR's most popular podcasts. Give a little, get a lot in return. Visit plus.npr.org.
As Election Day approaches, NPR's Consider This podcast is zooming in on 6 states that could determine who wins the White House: Georgia, Nevada, Wisconsin, Michigan, Arizona, and Pennsylvania. We'll ask voters in these swing states what matters to them and which way they want the country to go. Follow along with new episodes this week on the Consider This podcast from NPR.
America's next drag superstar is Sasha Colby.
After you won this show, I mean, just like actually after you won Miss Continental, after you won RuPaul's Drag Race, you traveled the country performing.
Yeah.
And you've been on the stage.
I've been in these streets.
I was going to say, in these streets, actually performing. I wonder, like, how has the scene changed as drag has gained popularity?
I think I was watching it change, watching drag become this like huge entity in real time, waiting for me to be a part of it. And I think that was like really frustrating for 10 years. I came moving to LA in 2014 wanting to be on Drag Race, but I fit myself in anywhere. I would like do backup dancing for any girl that would ask from Drag Race, or I would choreograph a lot of music videos for like Manila or like Latrice. And if I'm not going to be able to be on the show, I'm going to make my money somehow from the show and, you know, be like some sort of byproduct of it. And then, you know, watching Got Mick get on as like kind of the first like realized like trans person going on the show, not coming out on the show, but like coming in as a trans man, doing their drag like they'd want to. And then immediately after that was like Sonique got to, and she was the first trans person ever on the show and got to come out on the show. And I think that was season 2. And then for her to come full circle and win Drag Race All-Stars. And it was so nice to see like someone that reflected my type of drag being represented and represented well. And then Carrie came and it was like, I can't have her be the most famous Colby child. You know what I'm saying? If you gonna like Carrie Colby, you gonna love me. But the climate that we live in now and how much more we are all elevating, I think now the production of Drag Race, I think also something like MTV has really allowed more space for more drag to be shown. And I think that's the really important part about all of this. Like maybe you can delay me, but you can't deny me.
Thinking about the popularity of Drag Race and the mainstreaming of drag performance, many of the people watching, you know, they may not know much more about drag history or culture than what they've seen on the show. What's something that you want these kinds of viewers to understand about drag that they might not know as casual fans?
You know what I love, though? Like, I love that in my season, the producers and even Rue allowed me to talk about drag before Drag Race. That's like the whole thing of like your favorite drag queen's favorite drag queen. If you think like this is all just Drag Race is drag, then you're missing out on like the whole huge picture of like how multifaceted and how many different performers. And like, I love drag, but you should have seen drag. Like for me, like the heydays are like the 80s and 90s, watching those like videos back, you're missing out on like so much more if you just stick to Drag Race. So like I always tell people when I'm performing anywhere, I'm like, it's great that you all come out for Drag Race Girls, but please come out for your local drag, you know, like go and find out what your community is like, you know, because a lot of people now, they're trying to get on Drag Race, and it's like, who's your drag mom? It's like, YouTube. You know, like, where's like the community that made a drag performer, you know, that gives you that confidence and foundation to handle a show and to handle fame after the show.
Yeah, it's like being a patron of the arts. It's like investing in your local artist community, because that's really what this is.
Yeah.
Drag's popularity, I mean, drag is more popular, especially mainstream-wise, than it ever has been. But that popularity has come with political backlash. Like, we've seen attempts to outline drag in states like Tennessee, Texas, Florida, Montana, and the targeting of Drag Queen Story Hour by some conservatives. How do you think about that as a performer?
It makes complete sense to me. When you're that relevant, you are going to have some sort of say politically, you know, without even knowing it. And that's why it gets political backlash, because those people, the ones that are trying to like take away our rights, are the exact ones that are fearful that we will infect the masses with just being yourself. I think that they get so nervous that, like, oh, they're not brainwashed by us and they're actually doing what they want to do. Like, how do we control them? We didn't ask to read to no kids. You know what I mean? Like, I know my drag is not child friendly. Yeah. It's more child making, but that's why I don't do Drag Race Story Hour. But that shouldn't mean that any like kids shouldn't be able to have Story Hour with someone that wants to do that.
I wonder, how does this politicization of drag make you think differently about your role as a performer?
I've always taken my role as a drag performer and a trans person. It just goes in hand with advocacy. Like, you just have to be an activist. If you're not advocating for those who are like you and marginalized, then you're not really doing drag, you know, because drag is that. It's what Stonewall and the first brick thrown was all about. Was about letting everyone have their space. Like, we're all human. We all take up space. Now let me have this space. Let me have what's mine, and you keep what's yours.
To end our conversation, I want to go back to Miss Continental 2012, when you won the pageant. During the Q&A, you were asked to talk about your future, and you spoke about how you were destined to win this pageant.
Because my past and my present has been right here with Continental, my future has to be Miss Continental, because it's my purpose.
You open up about your childhood playing dress up, hoping to perform one day, and how you were encouraged as a teen by your drag mother, Cassandra.
I was sat down at 17 years old and given videos from Miss Continental from 1984 to 2002, and was sitting there with my drag mother telling me, you can be that.
How you battled addiction.
I was heavily addicted to crystal meth, and I was almost at the end of my rope.
All of these other things to make it to that stage, to win Miss Continental. I mean, if you were running for office, you would have won. That was a speech. And that speech is what clinched it for me. Not that I was voting, but it's what clinched it for me. And you did win. Like, you built up this whole argument, this whole story about how you were destined to win this pageant, and then you won. And you've accomplished so much since then. How do you think back on those words now?
Oh my goodness, I could weep. It's wild thinking about it full circle now. Just blind faith that this is my destiny. Like, it's so wild what that can do. What like blind faith can give you, like, so much delusion that you just have to be successful. And like, I wasn't going to settle for anything else. And I knew that the other times that I got to answer question and answer and I didn't win was because I was holding back and I was like not giving my true self. And I was really always on the verge of talking about my addiction, but I was so nervous about saying that I was I had a meth problem. I was even so worried about saying that. It's so like what people was going to think about me. And the second I did not care about that and just been like, you know what, I have to say this because I have to get it out of me. And the second I did it, I got so much like, this is like before Instagram, maybe like not even a DMs. It was like Facebook Messenger. But so many like kids, like just people, like queer people in general, and like even like some drag queens that I've worked with were like that made me not want to do meth again. So thank you. And then I realized, it's not for me. Like, all of this is like to help other people.
Well, Sasha, I just want to tell you how much we really appreciate this conversation. You preached today for sure.
Thank you for allowing me to have space to speak. It feels so good. It feels so nice.
Oh my gosh, thank you. Thank you so much. Seriously. There's a word in here today for a lot of us on taking up space, so thank you so much. That was drag queen and performer Sasha Colby. You can watch her documentary series, Home Stretch, on YouTube, or catch her on a stage near you this winter on the Drag Queen Christmas Tour, making stops in the US and Canada. To end this week's show, we are turning to the group chat. And I asked two friends of the show what's going on in theirs. That's right, they are going public with what's buzzing in their circle.
Hey, Brittany.
Hey, Brittany.
Hey, Brittany.
Hey, Brittany. This is Hazel from NPR Music. And something that my group chats are obsessed with right now is the fact that the actress Tilda Swinton is not only a super fan of the Real Housewives franchise, but that she has a favorite housewife, Countess Luann from New York. And she's such a fan that she actually invited Luann out to her house in Scotland just to like hang out. So I think that's incredible.
Hey, Brittany. Honestly, my group chat popped off again because between National Girlfriend's Day and National Boyfriend's Day, there was some complaining in the chat. One of my friends was basically saying, how am I supposed to know about some stuff that obviously people just made up? Yeah, there was a lot of griping over, quote, a C-list holiday.
Love the group chat, keeping me in the know. Thanks to my current coworker, NPR music editor Hazel Sills, and my old coworker, Emmanuel Jochi, who's now a producer at This American Life. This episode of It's Been a Minute was produced by
Barton Girdwood,
Alexis Williams,
Liam McBain,
Corey Antonio Rose.
This episode was edited by
Jessica Plachek.
Our executive producer is
Jasmine Romero.
Our VP of programming is
Yolanda Sanguini.
All right, that's all for this episode of It's Been a Minute from NPR. I'm Brittany Luce. Talk soon.
This message comes from Instacart. Explaining football to the friend who's just there for the nachos? Hard. Tailgating from home like a pro with snacks and drinks everyone will love? An easy win. And with Instacart helping deliver the snack time MVPs to your door, you're ready for the game in as fast as 30 minutes, so you never miss a play or your seat on the couch. Shop Game Day Faves on Instacart and enjoy $0 delivery fees on your first 3 grocery orders. Offer valid for a limited time. Other fees and terms apply.
Wait, don't tell me. Fresh Air, up first. NPR News Now, Planet Money, TED Radio Hour, Throughline, the NPR Politics Podcast, Code Switch, Embedded, Books We Love, Wild Card are just some of the podcasts you can enjoy sponsor-free with NPR Plus. Get all sorts of perks across more than 20 podcasts with the bundle option. Learn more at plus.npr.org.
Truth, independence, fairness, transparency, respect, excellence. This is NPR.